Another DataQ violation that's common to submit is oil leaks on the hubs. Now, when we read Operational Policy 15 for oil leaks, it tells us that for oil leaks, it must be forming drops and dripping during the inspection. But you'll also notice in there it says that it's other than hubs or wheel seals on the backside. Everywhere else, like the engine differentials, where you commonly find oil leaks, those would need a drip during inspection, but it specifically says other than a hub or wheel seal. So what commonly happens with your hubs and wheels, the wheel seal, or more importantly on the hub, more specifically on the hubs, is it's more so when you have these that have the sight glass where you can see how much fill there is in there, which you should have a minimal amount. Doesn't mean that you have to have the clear ones. You can have the enclosed ones like this is, where you can't actually tell unless you actually took the cap off and were able to see some of the oil on the inside. But the common thing that happens is more with these. And what happens with these is that you have this red cap on the end. Sometimes they're rubber, or they can be plastic like this one is. But a common occurrence is that they'll just over time get damaged from heat, from it being taken on and off, and at some point you'll have oil that'll seep out, usually. Sometimes also during filling, when you're doing maintenance on them and filling the hub with oil. But what happened is the excess will run out and collect right here on the bottom part of the lip. And during roadside inspection, if you have that little seepage of oil with any amount collected here on the lip, if I see that, I would write it up, because remember that during roadside inspection, it doesn't have to be dripping if it's the hub or the wheel seal. So that would be something that your drivers definitely should be catching during their pre-trip, because all they'd have to do is just take a shop rag that they probably already keep in the side box anyway and just clean that seepage off. Now, to make sure that it's not actually a leak, what I did during roadside inspection, if I saw any oil, is I would also just push this to put a little pressure on it. And sometimes just putting a little pressure would actually reveal a small little crack or tear in the cap. And at that point I knew, okay, well, now it is a leak, because when pressure is applied to it, it's continuing to seep out of the cap itself. So and an easy fix obviously is just to replace the cap, clean off the excess, put a new cap, and then your hub is good. But this is something that's really common to be overlooked. However, what I was going to mention as far as DataQing it goes, though, is that if you did have the seepage or leak and you cleaned it off, but there is no more that runs out, maybe you can DataQ it. It's going to be a little harder to prove, though, because this doesn't have to be forming drops or drip during the inspection, but something commonly overlooked during pre-trips by your drivers.